Mark, I'm going to start with you. Kick us off. The original seed from Penelope, which I understand came from maybe watching a little TV during the pandemic.
Yeah. I was in the pandemic. I was experiencing a lot of quiet time. My family and I were watching this show called Alone, which is kind of like almost like a low-budget version of Survivor, where people just go out with 10 tools and see how long they can last out in the woods. And I was really impressed how riveted everyone was by it, from my father, who's 75, to my youngest daughter, who was 7. I mean, it was just very little actually happening. Watching them like sharpen tools, spend 10 minutes trying to build a fire, and we were just so engrossed by it. And without really talking it out, I've sort of come to realize that like we're all feeling a little not okay and a little disconnected from something in us that is pretty primal. So I started writing this series about a 16-year-old girl who leaves everything behind, doesn't explain it to anyone, and goes to live out in the woods. And I think even she doesn't really understand what it is. And so in this way, Penelope kind of became like an avatar for me in what I was feeling. And before I knew it, I had 8 episodes written, but I knew they weren't quite there. So at that point, I brought it to Mel, who I know is like a huge nature enthusiast. It was also at a time in our collaboration where we were talking about maybe it's time for Mel, who's been running our company for years, who's been creative, producing so many of our projects, putting so much of herself into it, but hasn't really gotten the reins to do her own thing. So we started rewriting the scripts together, and Mel took all these like cool-ass nature classes, learned about berries and shit, and then at a certain point we were like, oh, this thing began in my heart, but now it's Mel's, and then we handed it to her to go direct.
8 episodes directing. It's like,
yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Easy, and showrun.
Showrun. In addition to what you were seeing in that show, what's it?
It's called Alone. It's a History Channel show.
I think there's also an element of maybe what we were seeing, you were also seeing with young people in their portrayal on TV, this being maybe a little bit of a counter to that to a certain degree, Mel?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what spoke to me right away is 16, that age for me was such a pivotal time. It's really when I feel like I started to become an adult, but I didn't quite yet understand how to talk, and I didn't have the life experience to express all the big emotions that were going on inside me. And so I think, I really connected to that age and the nature of it all. And, and I think so many, Mark and I grew up before, the internet was, crazy.
Yeah.
I think my first, granted, I fought it for so long. My first email address was when I was 16. But, there's so many young people nowadays, so I think they're feeling that this disconnect, this want to get away, this runaway. And they're nostalgic for a time that was before they were even born. And so I see that in a lot of the young people I'm close with and sympathize and understand, and kind of wanted to put that out there for them as an option.
In your early careers, you've read and been on a lot of different shows. This is a little bit different. You throw away your phone.
Yeah.
That's not normally what we see from a teenager. These two roles feel very different than I'm sure what you're usually out reading for, right? In the way that your generation is portrayed.
Yeah. I wish I could throw away my phone. I wish I could get rid of it and get rid of all social media that I have. But, it is like something that is important in today's society, I guess. But I do hope that eventually we get to a point where it's not something that we need to have in our lives or we need to talk about, because I think we just need to connect with one another. And without social media, I think we could probably do that much easier and have real life connections and be able to hear each other and listen to what we actually have to say.
Yeah, it was a great excuse to be able to kind of go into those things of being alone and maybe partially not communicating as much. It's really one of my favorite times I've ever had in my life was the period of doing my best to understand what that person was feeling, but also doing it because I, personally wanted to do it. To kind of do my own thing and travel and stuff like that. It was just really lovely and challenging, but really, I kept feeling like this is one of the most beautiful moments of my life, and I kept feeling that constantly. which was pretty crazy.
The act of filming this, not just.
No, not really filming it, but like around it. Well, I only filmed for
Production
like
was
2
hell.
days.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut that part out.
But
Yeah.
for the time I spent around it, but I'm sure I did have those moments, some moments like that. But no, but I remember, constantly feeling like I'm really like this is like amazing.
I want to talk about the way you collaborated with Mel and the way the scenes developed. Here at Sundance, we're getting to see the first half an hour. And to me, the scene that stands out and that stuck with me was the van. And you letting two young people in a limited space feel out their awkwardness and find just the space and the time for something that to develop. I wonder if you could talk about that scene, shooting it, and how it developed.
I think it was just nice to be able to we just kind of spent time with each other, tried to get to know each other, and it kind of just, we were trying to be free with what we were doing in the moment and kind of just create something that young people would understand and like a connection with somebody who you may not particularly know, but sometimes it feels like you've known that person for years, and that's how it felt with, I feel, Penelope and Sam when they first met each other. It was an instant click and they just kind of became friends. I think it was a special relationship.
Mel, in terms of developing something like that, how much is that scripted? How much is that, are you letting them, working with them to let them figure it out?
I mean, Mark and I are like king and queen of like improv in the moment if we need to and want to. A lot of times we want to. But I think we have also been moving into, let's spend a little bit more time and work out some of this dialogue, but there's always that space on the edges for the actors to come in and fill things in. And, even with like the van scene, I remember there being this discussion of Austin's character was going to have a girlfriend as the excuse for why there's no romance between them. And Austin was like, I think it's better if there's no reason, that this is just a simple moment between two people connecting. And I was like, absolutely, because that's what it was. Yeah. So we, I think we all found, you both found your places and what worked for all of us.
Yeah, from my perspective, it was really interesting because I wasn't there when they shot that scene. And it was something that I had written, and it was based upon an experience that I had being like a singer-songwriter in my early 20s. And so I knew the truth of that moment as that thing happened in 1998. And I could write from an authority perspective for that, and then Mel could add this wonderful element of like, now we're going to do this from the female perspective for Penelope. And what these guys did so well and continue to do, and particularly Megan, was like the authority to revoice those things in a way that like Mel and I just aren't going to be able to, as much as we would love to research, to accurately write for a 16-year-old girl and this guy to speak. And so I remember getting those dailies back and being like, oh, these are the perfect changes, the little things and little nuances that you guys did to make it feel right for the time. It's just like, that's something I can't do as a 47-year-old dude. It's what a gift,
I don't know if you guys are going to be willing to talk about this. We only are seeing the pilot here. My sense, I don't know where this is going, except for that you're going to travel through the woods. It feels like this might be structured a little bit differently. Is this one of these things where characters like Austin might be popping in and out, or is there going to be a core? Is this one of these things where you can have someone come in for an episode or two, and as she's traveling through?
To know? Wouldn't you like to know? Here's what I think we can comfortably say is like one of the big inspirations for Penelope, for me at least, was like, when I was a character like Austin traveling around at a time when there were no cell phones around, I would just go to these shows and I would make $12 and I would ask somebody if I could sleep on their couch. And a stranger would take me in for the night. And we didn't have anything to do. And we just sat up and we talked and we connected, and it was beautiful, and I would never see them again. And I hold them in my heart so dearly, and those relationships are so beautiful to me. And I find that I don't get those as much anymore. Weirdly, I can get them on film sets when you connect with someone for a few weeks, that's really a nice thing. And so I think that what you do see in Penelope is a little bit of a reflection of like a time when humans meet each other, and not in an overt way or a preachy way, but just like offer each other a deep connection, and in some ways like a kind of subtle and strange kindness that was needed. And I'm just craving it. you know.
Duplass Brothers Productions, I think you were maybe the original. Didn't you have like the original Netflix red envelope when they started streaming deal?
We did.
Really, really great collaboration with HBO with those series, and you know, the Bridget one's still going. It's wonderful, and you have had a couple series on Hulu. So I gotta ask, going this route, and in 8 episodes, and doing it all indie, bringing an indie pilot to Sundance and funding it yourself. What prompted you to go in this direction with this project?
I mean, it's such a weird time in the industry right now, and you know, I think we're all about finding and creating the new paths ourselves, and we just saw this thing we believed in and weren't quite sure if anybody was going to see it the way we would, or even maybe allow us to make it the way we wanted to. And so I think we just got a little protective of it, you know.
I think that's it. I mean, it's not much more complex than we've been doing this for years in independent film. There's a film we want to make. We're not sure if we can get the financing, and if we do, they're going to be scared they're going to lose money on it, so they're going to try and change it and put it into a box that we might not want creatively. So we go and make it on our own and we sell it back. And I think that we thought, why can't we do this with TV? TV's in trouble right now. You know, the streamers are starting to realize their subscribers are going away, and they're getting scared. So if they're going to finance a show like this up front, they're going to say like, okay, this is cool, but like, can we have a little more like threat, a little more violence? Like maybe there's some bad guys who come out in the woods, you know? And we wanted to protect that, you know? So, and I think at this point, you know, with the company, I think we're also looking to not continue to repeat ourselves. We want to grow, we want to build on what we do well and grow. And this was a natural extension. It was like, all right, it's going to be a lot more expensive than what we've done before. It's going to be a lot more work on
and
Mel.
Mel, you're going to do all
of it.
of it.
You're going to do all of it. Thank you so much.
Mel, let's learn show running.
Yeah, exactly. But it just I don't know. Weirdly, like we just kind of looked at each other and it was just like, oh no, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, we got it.
Because when I think of Duplass Brothers Productions, I think of and you, Mark, you've spoken about this so eloquently in the past about there's a smarter, cheaper way to do things. And to a certain degree, not that every making a movie is always a risk. It really feels like all chips in on it. This one's a little bit different.
This
all
one bigger
chips
in. Yes. Yeah. The independent films are like, all right, here's a $5 chip, you know, and we'll try this out, and we'll probably be okay. This one was like, we're gonna have to go to the ATM machine for this one. So But I don't know, man. I would like there are fewer and fewer chances for me to feel truly vulnerable and vital at this age. And I think a lot of the artists that I've loved through the years, I've watched them closely, and I've watched them start to either get safe or to mellow out, or their art actually becomes repetitive or a little out of touch, you know. And I'm really trying to safeguard that. And I think the scene I described with these two guys in the van was like this perfect example of just like, you know what, I can only take this so far from where I'm at in my position right now, and I need people like Mel who will push that. I need these guys who'll bring that veracity to it in that collaborative way. And I just want to, I don't know, man, I want to stay on the edge a little bit.
And it feels, I don't mean to turn to you two because it's the two youngest people on between all of us. It feels like there's a void that could be filled by this show in terms of when you see what's out there, in terms of speaking to a younger generation that might want to push some of these things away, right?
I hope so. I hope people will connect to that, especially like younger people, and connect to the desire that Penelope feels. And I do love how just like quiet it is and like meditative it is. Yeah, I hope so.
The song you play, where'd that come from?
Yeah, that was like, I didn't fully realize like I was gonna have to like really write it myself, or partially. Like they sent me over some lyrics, and then I just like wrote a tune to it.
You made a mistake, and you were like, yeah, I mean, I've like written some things here and there. And we're like, okay, cool.
No, I didn't fully understand. Yeah. And so then I did the music, and then changed some lyrics and stuff like that. I mean, it was fun. It was great. It was a cool like challenge, and then it was really fun to go up there and like, you know, play my own thing that I had written, you know.
You made it so much better,
Yeah.
and like,
So,
and you played
so
it
cool.
the way like those like Alec Benjamin musicians would play at that time that I don't really understand how to do. It was like it was so great. It was just great. I remember he sent us this like demo video back. He was like, I just put this together. I don't know. And I was just like, don't touch it. It's perfect.
Well, it's an expression of the character. It's the introduction of the character.
Absolutely.
It's like the
Yeah.
charm and wit. And
Yeah, and it was funny trying to like there's a certain balance to it of like of where it needed to be, like you're saying, like the wit and kind of stuff like that, of like
the
finding
goofy
that balance.
sweetness of you came right into
Yeah,
it.
it
It was
did.
wonderful. Yeah.
I apologize for not knowing this. I watched this last week. Has it played? It's played here yet? So
No.
far?
No, premieres tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious because Mark, you have such a long history with Sundance. I think it was 21 years ago. You guys
Yeah,
brought your first
21
short
years.
here, and
Yeah.
I mean, is it going to be interesting for you to see what bringing an episodic pilot in a festival environment is going to be like?
It will be interesting. We've done it once before. We did a show called Animals. That was an animated show that we ended up doing with HBO after that here, and that was really, really exciting. But there's something lovely about what we're doing here, which is it's a combination of the thrill of being in a shorts program where you have like 6 other artists with you and you've all come to see maybe one thing, but you're getting exposed to a lot of different things at the same time. So we're going to be showing with a couple of other TV shows. And when we do features here, you don't really get to do that. You're siloed on your own. It's all about you. So weirdly, one of the things I'm excited about is to like share this space with another group of artists and see what brought them to it. That's really we haven't done that in a while. Yeah.
Are you going to be willing to show other episodes to people that are interested, or is it like the pilot or bust for anybody that might be interested?
Depends who they are.
Yeah. You know, if it's you,
Yeah, maybe.
no way.
Oh, okay.